Hi, my name is Jerry, and welcome to Do It Live Autonomy podcast. Today on our show, we are joined by some fellow students and graduates who will be my awesome guests today as we talk about our favorite highlights from this past week, such as last week's Q&A, interviews, bloopers, Friday's lecture, and later on, we have a special guest. I don't want to give it away, but it'll be worth your time. So stick around. So I was thinking of also showing some music during my podcast. And I had this idea to share this song for a couple, like a minute at most. Because of the message it brings. So start this music video.
How long we gonna keep doing this? Here we go again. Another balloon release, another candlelight vigil. Did we give them something to drink when they were thirsty? Did we feed them when they was hungry? Did we put some clothes on their back when they were naked? Did we put some money in their books when they were in jail? Did we go visit them? Did we write them? Did we visit them in the hospital when they were sick? Now we want to sing songs. Now we want to give sermons. Now we want to give flowers. Why don't we sing songs when they can hear them? Give sermons where they can hear them. And give them flowers where they can smell them. We're going to wear another Rest in Peace t-shirt? How about Live in Peace? Let's give them flowers while they live.
You know what? Forget this. We ain't doing this no more. Watch this.
Life is fragile, man. We can't play around being too big to look somebody that we love in the eyes and say, hey, man, I love you, bro. I love you, sis. It's time to snatching people up left and right. You got something on your heart to say, man. Get them folks they flowers right now, man. Yeah, right now. Let's go. Hey, check on your people. If you love them, then you need to show it. How come we wait for them to die before we let them know it? The most important things to say to them, we never say. Took them for granted cause you used to seeing them every day. Neglecting calls so communication went astray. Might not be doing it on purpose, life got in the way. You saying to yourself, it's cool, I'll catch them later on. And then you find out that they're gone, now that chance is blown. Man, so now your feelings come rushing in, wishing to hear their voice or for their hand to touch again. It's troubling, dealing with that kind of suffering. You had time, but with them never enough to spend. So now you at the funeral full of regret and tearful. Wasting your time talking to them now cause they can't hear you. The loving words that they gave you didn't give them back. The fact that you didn't tell them, you gotta live with that. Give them flowers while they still can smell them. If it's a certain way inside your heart you feel, and tell them. Never hesitate to say it, do it when you can. Don't put the flowers on no casket, put them in their hand. Put them in their hand. Give them flowers while they still can smell them. If it's a certain way inside your heart you feel, and tell them. Never hesitate to say it, do it when you can. Don't put the flowers on no casket, put them in their hand. Put them in their hand. You didn't speak in.
All right, so let's see. Pretty much that song is about giving flowers to people while they're still alive. So I just want to say thank you, Richard Grove and Joshua Hale, for allowing me to be in Autonomy. It's been a great ride so far, and you guys are legends, so keep doing what you're doing, and just thank you once again. Can you guys hear me all right?
I gotcha.
Okay. All right, next part, real quick, I wanted to just talk about the shirts of autonomy that they're selling. I purchased one shirt, which I think it's great. So I'll show you right now. So I have this one coming in the mail pretty soon. Looks like it says freedom is learned, not inherited. It has an eagle with the keys, and it looks like it has a pen on the other side with a magnifying glass. So yeah, for all the listeners out there, just, check out this website. We have plenty shirts, hoodies. This one is pretty cool as well. The triangulating freedom premium team. All right, now I'll get that out of the way. So here's a video of last week's Q&A. So just go right ahead and play that for a couple minutes.
We don't have a question. We just wanted to say hi, and I wanted to introduce myself because I'm jumping in with Queen here. I was invited to come in and check out, see what y'all do, and really appreciate this. And I think this is awesome, an awesome group of people. So hi, my name is Luna. Thank you for speaking truth and spreading awareness.
Well, Luna, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Queen, nice to see you again. I heard you had a successful meeting.
Good to see you all.
Yeah. So you have a launch, an opening date. What's the deal with your business?
We had our grand opening Saturday, and it went well, and we're open for business. We're gonna do we did this week our yoga class, and so we're setting up now for our Reiki and everything on the website and things like that, the button to click to pay and all that. It's good to see you guys, and yeah, I'm happy I'm back. I was just, working my magic to manifest this store, and yeah, it's phenomenal. Can I turn the camera? Let me see.
Yeah, your magic is always coupled with action. That's how you make it work. And you had a harrowing story too, because there was another student this week, and his story of overcoming trial and tribulation without excuses reminded me of you. And then when I talked to Joshua, he said that he had just had a meeting with you. For everyone else here, Luna is new, but Queen Albay was from season 4 or 5 of Autonomy, and it's good to see you again. Did you have any questions, or you guys just wanted to say hi and share?
Just wanted to say hi, and I'm just grateful for being back. And yeah, I'm just grateful for being back, and nothing changes. You guys are speaking the truth, and I'm excited about this next journey of our life.
Yeah, moving forward.
Right on. Great to see you guys. Yeah, I don't recommend many students get into like motivational speaking or like sharing your story, because usually you should be focused on other people and these sort of things. And that's how we make our products and services. But every now and then there's a student who has been through something that's like, so like, I don't know, it's like beyond our scope of things that can go on, right? It's like one of those David Goggins type things. So in the case of Brandon Habermas, we talked to him earlier this week. He's got one of those stories where I'm like, you should let people know. But Queen Albay also has overcome a series of life's curveballs that, a lot of people in other situations with lesser spirit and less fire in their belly would have succumbed to, and rightfully so, because they were tough situations. But when we first met Queen, it was like, not only for myself, but for other people, it's like people with the victim mentality and the self-pity, it's like they can't be in the same room and hear her story and still give you that excuse afterwards, because it's like she's overcome a lot of things to get here. And so I think that's good for people to know it's possible. And I think it's good also so people see it's like there's other people here who have had a lot more weight to shoulder and obtuse things to balance during this time than these other people who are kind of feeling sorry for themselves usually have. So it's that understanding of the trials and tribulations of each other that I think inspire us to become stronger and not buy into like that self-imposed weakness.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, there's no excuses.
And we need to make a time when you could tell your story to the class for this season.
Okay. Yes, I will.
You wouldn't mind, because that would probably take a good half hour. Make it learn a lot during that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Queen, I just wanted to jump in. We didn't speak much, but I remember your situation back in season 5, and I'm super glad to see you chime in. You look like you're in the kind of space that you were talking about back then. So I'm glad that you kind of #made it, you know what I mean? So good job.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was just sharing this with my.
How's everybody doing right now?
Good. I like that clip. That reminds me, I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing Queen's story.
Oh yeah, for sure. See, I got a DM. Check that a little bit. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump into one more clip from last week's Q&A.
And so part of why I'm taking this course and I'm listening to everything through the lens of like, how can I give this information to my kids and maybe even create something for other kids from this angle. And so I know that there's value, you can't just be spoon-fed stuff. That's the problem in the first place, right? So part of the value is doing your own research and making these connections on your own. But at the same time, like even myself and much less my kids' generation, you can't just pick up Machiavelli and understand it, right? So you need a navigator like you, so to speak. And so is there something that already exists that's like teaching literature and books from that perspective and making the connections, or is there because I personally have a need for that, and I don't know if that needs to be created or if there's something that already exists. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's probably something that needs to be created, because that which exists, like there's the Great Books of the Western World Literary Book Club, but it's been going on a couple years. I think they've only made it to Aristotle, which is like 10 books in. It's a 50 book set, so it's a long drawn out process. So it's a lifetime education though, right? So you want to get the gist, like let's get the Cliff Notes version and then dig in where we're interested or as applicable. But
and something that would even hook teens and because learning as an adult, I feel like is a little bit different than learning as a teen. And I'd hate to be like, oh, you're not going to understand this, or you won't be interested, so we just won't cover it. But so how do you bridge that gap? And that's what I want to do.
I know last time we talked, I mentioned Michael Badnarek's book, Good to Be King. And then I had given it to my 14-year-old nephew, and like he clicked with it. He's like, he could understand it, right? Badnarek also did a Constitution course for adults. And then recently, his buddy, Lisa and I had asked him, hey, can you make a curriculum on the Constitution for like teenagers, high school kids? And he's like, absolutely not. Like, it is what it is or whatever. But then a couple months go by, and his good buddy, Jimmy Vaughn, who's the brother of Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimmy had sponsored Michael's like 2004 campaign for when he ran for president. So Jimmy Vaughn's got 2 teenage daughters. He's like, Michael, can you teach them the Constitution? He's like, absolutely. So then he made a Constitution course for like high school kids, which I consider to be like, this is still for adults, because even though it's at the kid level, most adults don't even understand this level of what are your rights, right? So you could even start the adults with the high school version and then let them climb up his ladder of freedom. But so I'm thinking like, where is that? Is it on his site or is it in Kajabi? I don't know, but I do have it on our list to like give Michael a call.
Put it at the end of Badnarek's course.
It's at the end of his course in Kajabi?
Yeah, everybody has access to it, yeah.
All right, good. So we'll just find out. Like, it's in there. We got to find it for you, Jill. But I would test that out and watch it with them.
Okay, so kind of start from the basis of a constitution and then see where you go, what questions you have. And
yeah, you exist in this world. What are your rights as a human being? Like, what are the logic and reasonable parts where you can defend that and push back? If someone's like, the group says you have to, it's like, well, you know, a group is made of individuals, and I'm one of those. I'm not, there is no such thing as group. There's only individuals in number, right? But they want to say individual identity is a social construct. Well, those people have never been out on their own. I feel bad for them. Just the same way as some people who argue certain ideas have never been to the southern hemisphere. It's a totally different set of stars, you know? So how to get this information in front of kids so that it's palatable, so that they can get some general understanding of, you know, what rights they have, not by a piece of paper, but by being able to breathe here, right? We're alive, we're here, people have these rights, and here's why. And if you do it any other way, it turns into tyranny or despotism, where a small group like parasitically lives off the larger group.
Righty, that is the second clip of last week's Q&A. Does anyone want to chime in on that?
Hey, I wanted to talk about the first one with the music. I didn't really get the point. I mean, I got the point of the music. I'm not saying that. I got the message of the music. But then when you put up Richard's picture with Legend, if I didn't know him, I would think that he was dead. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just pull up a picture from Google. It's kind of like me giving him flowers, like metaphorically.
Right.
Just, you know.
Like I said, I understood what you're doing because I'm in this class and I know Richard is alive, but I'm just saying, is it possible? Did anyone else get that if you didn't know about Richard and you were in this mindset that's set up by the music that you're,
I don't know. I think because the music was saying like, tell them while they're alive.
Right.
So I think.
So you did get that connection?
Yeah, but again, it's hard to, you know, hypothetically put myself in someone else's shoes that doesn't know, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That was the only thing. I wasn't sure, you know, I just kind of questioned whenever the picture came up. And so I wanted to throw that out there in case that helped.
I think I could definitely appreciate what you're saying in regards to like, if it was a standalone piece of marketing, but like contextually, I guess I get it, but I would definitely have to agree with you if it was a piece of standalone thing that said Legend and then this individual, because we're, you know, the community we're part of, it's a very niche community inside of another niche community inside of this bigger community called the Liberty Movement, whatever that means. So like we're a fairly obscure group, but I think contextually it made sense.
Okay.
So to talk about that last clip with the education, this has been on my mind a lot, and I was just taking some notes because like that conversation, there's so many great conversations that happen in autonomy that this one has kind of like slipped like into the back of my memory now. So I'm remembering it because I really want to work with some of these other autonomy students and create some sort of service or product that can help parent educators, or just like, you know, yeah, parent educators, I guess, because it's been a struggle educating my son during the pandemic. I kept him home for homeschool. And, you know, we tried a bunch of different things, and it's hard to make choices because there's so many choices out there of curriculum and supplementary materials. And you know, then there's the whole aspect of you got to kind of like find your tribe, like when you're homeschooling, so that you're not just alone. So anyway, I was taking a lot of notes on that because I think there was a really good focus, at least for, you know, the older like teens, on starting from, and it doesn't have to be the Constitution, but like starting from like a basic, like what exists level. And this is using the trivium method that was on that t-shirt that you shared of logic. So like, just start with what exists, like you exist, what are your rights? And then it naturally will just go from there. Like, well, you know, what are they interested in from there? And then what can we learn from there about the personalities or the events? So yeah, that was my notes, and that was my takeaway from that clip. Thank you for sharing that one.
Of course.
If I could touch on what you were saying, Stephanie, there's a term for that. I can't recall what it is, but like in the realm of like logic and rhetoric, is that epistemology or like metaphysics? The act of determining what you know and what's real. Like if this exists, I don't know. Rich, can you recall what is that term?
So you're looking for a term that is like when you're just defining the basic grammar of what exists and what's real?
Right, like defining reality. That's it's either like epistemology or metaphysics, one of those concepts. I want to say it's epistemology. Epistemology, I think that's what talks about what is reality and how we know it. How do we determine reality?
Well, you're driving. Yeah, you can't Google it, but I can.
Because, you know, I mean, I just think it's
no, I was double muted. The answer is
metaphysics is that which exists, and epistemology is the words we use to describe that which exists.
There we go. So they both terms kind of have and figuring out what is and what exists. It's not like metaphysics and epistemology are totally separate concepts that apply to other things. They both are used in conjunction to define what reality is. So I've had difficulty in like determining like the definitions for those two terms and figuring and keeping those straight.
Yeah, I mean, the terminology is one thing, but just like the basic concept of just starting with like this overarching or foundational either document or concept and then exposing them to it. Like it could be a really simple, like Richard said, Cliff Notes version of those 50 books he was talking about. And then it just naturally, like with learning, just branches off from there. And that's what I want to help create for parent educators, is something that can help them just follow the children's lead on their interests and abilities.
Well, I know starting with like at a really young age, you can always introduce them to the Tuttle Twins books. And they've got a series that's not just the original 12 anymore. They've expanded their library to a lot of different, I think they brought out like a three-piece set of like academic type books. And they've got a magazine as well. They've got the cartoon as well for reaching out to younger kids. The cartoon's really good. Even as an adult, you'll enjoy it. And not in the, you'll enjoy it as you do South Park way. Like the adult jokes that they tell in it aren't, you know, innuendos and inappropriate stuff. It's just stuff that you would get as an adult. It's really good. It's really good. It's really tasteful.
That's cool. I think you may have told me about the cartoon before and I forgot about it, but it just brought to mind another one I discovered recently called The Pups of Liberty. Have you heard of that cartoon?
The Pups of Liberty? No.
I think it's called The Pups of Liberty. It's like a bunch of puppies that kind of reenact history. It's a cartoon.
Nice. I know the first one that there was around was Liberty's Kids. That used to run on PBS when I was younger. It's still good for, you know, constitutionally historical, accurate, like revolutionary times. It's pretty good. But it does come at it from like a more minarchist, statist version, if you want to use labels and heuristics.
Yeah, and again, that might be a good one just to kind of get the foundation, like facts hopefully, if it's not completely factually inaccurate. What was it called again?
Liberty's Kids.
Well, that's some valuable information. Anything else? All right, just gonna take it as we move on. All right, thank you for participating in that. I'm gonna go back to screen sharing. And now I want to show you Ron Renaud interview on Uncompromised Teaser. Michael interviewed him. Michael Nimitz interviewed him. So let's watch this video.
Integrity part, because I think, especially in the kind of the community that we're in here, that's truth community, we have this discovery where we've got some truth, and it is incongruent with like our daily lives, and then trying to be in integrity with the truth that we know versus what everybody else is doing is really tough. So how do you feel about that, and what kind of advice do you have for people in that situation where integrity is really in question?
You asked me earlier about what was sort of the impetus of writing the book the first time, and I gave you some version of the best answer I could come up with in a moment. But what I'm noticing in me right now is sort of an impulse that I recognize from writing the book initially, is like something has to be said here. One of the things that's had me pivot from coaching who I've been coaching, the demographic, in general, to really focusing on people who are in the freedom community, the truth community, is I don't care. I was a bricklayer. I was a concrete mason, right? I don't care if you're I was a janitor too. I don't care if you're a janitor. I don't care if you're the CEO of a $500 million family business. It doesn't make a difference. That's a financial, but it doesn't matter who you are, right? In terms of your money, your demo, that you're committed to truth, that you're committed to pointing out the hypocrisy in the media, what's going on in medicine. It does put us in a whole other camp, and it makes us estranged from our family and our friends and our whole network. And here comes our courage again, right? Is how do I live this out truly? How do we really be in integrity with ourselves? Which I think ultimately is the question, is like how, and that impulse that I mentioned about my book, that is impulse I'm having here with now putting my attention on coaching people in the truth and the freedom community, is this is brutal for us. It's brutal. We need support. I need support. I need to know when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And everybody that I went to high school with, most everybody that I know here, the people I'm going to walk by are like, aren't you glad COVID's over? Or aren't you glad, we only don't have to wear a mask? And you're like, oh my gosh, we're in a totally different world. I'm living totally different. And where do you begin a conversation about God, about politics, about what kind of food to eat with people who just have only thought at a very, very surface level on things? It's very, very challenging. I'm a big fan of, if I can just throw one more word in, is really widening the net. I know people in our own, and I did that video that you had asked me to do about concerning anarchists and volunteerists in the freedom community, and how my contention is sometimes we're part of the problem. And part of that is we get an arrogance to us, and our net is so small. It's like, if you believe like me, if you see like me, if you have got the principles at my current level or better, then you're my brother or sister. But you know what? Wait a second. What about those conservatives that are like, enough's enough? What about those minarchists who, what about those Christians who know that there is a truth you might not believe, or Muslims who know there's a God, there's a higher power, but they just don't articulate it? Who cares? Do you know there's truth? Do you know that there's good in the world? Do you strive for that? Then you're my brother or sister. And I think we've got to have a wide enough net for that. And guess what? We're going to find ourselves addressing what you just brought up. It can be awfully lonely. Yeah, it's very lonely if you're the holiest guy in town. Well, chill out, man. There's lots of people out there who, you know, we can yoke ourselves to and have in our community. So anyway, I think we need to avail ourselves of a lot more community than we often do.
Alrighty. Well, Ron Renard couldn't make it to the Do It Live today because he is working hard on his program, which comes out on the 12th. So first off, you can watch this full interview if you're an autonomy student or graduate, and the link is shared by Michael Nimitz. And you can get that on the Discord. So buy his book, and if you're interested in his program, contact him. Does anybody want to put their 2 cents in?
Well, I had a question, and I also wanted to show off because I'm using, Ron has this free PDF on his website, ronrenaud.com, pretty soon coming up. And so I get to preview it and use it. And I've been using it for the past few days. And it's like, you know, you make your plans for the day. And then you also talk specifically about some of those things he was talking about, like, how are you going to live in integrity today? How are you going to show enthusiasm, courage, and endurance? And then you sign it to kind of like just solidify that commitment to yourself. And yesterday I did okay. So what you do is you like grade yourself, like give a percentage on how you did living each of these 4 standards throughout the day, at the end of the day. And then you can just kind of like write what you noticed and what you'll do different tomorrow. And you sign it again at night. And I really look forward to just reviewing this at night. And then it helps me plan for the next day as well. But yeah, I definitely have some work to do. And I think that's great that this simple form, like it takes just a few minutes, is helping me realize how I can do that. And it's different from like a planner, because it really makes me think about like, not just what I'm going to do, but how am I going to do it? Like, how am I going to do it with integrity? So I really appreciate that. I think he's got a great thing going. And I really look forward to the fact that we as students get to have like a presentation or what does he have in store for us? He's going to bring his wisdom with accountability to our class. I think it might be like a mini course or something. So that's really cool.
He messaged me. He said, I'm working on my accountability program that we're starting on the 12th. And he said, I hope to see you in his program.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really have to say that I identified a lot with the individual that he was talking about, the overly strict with an adherence to the rules of liberty and anarchy and the community. And I am that guy, you know what I mean? And I had a really big breakthrough this past year with understanding how tight I'm holding on to that. It's kind of like a rose. If you're holding too tight, it's gonna jab you. Because I was sacrificing, as Rich put it, my higher goals for my lower goals, my higher not goals, higher values. Oh. My higher values for my lower values, right? Because my family is valued. I value my family more than I value my consistency with liberty, right? Because they're the reason that I am wanting to be a consistent anarchist, libertarian, what have you. So like I was squeezing too tight onto that freaking liberty that I was losing time and events, and I wouldn't go to stuff with my family because of that. I wouldn't wear a mask, so I didn't go to a couple of events, and that's even more so than just the idea of having the values that you get divided, and now the system is making it so, okay, you want to be consistently a decent person? Well, if you're not going to be evil, you're going to be specifically singled out and removed from society. And there's a certain balance that you have to make. And that's not to say that you have to compromise on your values in the slightest. You just have to understand your value hierarchy and act accordingly. And I'm really excited for this accountability project because I definitely need some of that. That's something I'm still lacking in.
Same here. So
can I ask my question real quick? I don't know what minarchist is. Phoenix, you use that word, and then I think I heard Ron use it too.
So a minarchist is an individual that believes in like the smallest amount of, as they would word it, the smallest amount of government services provided. So the smallest amount of bureaucracy possible, which is like just provide for the roads and build a military, and that's really it. Have a voting system. So it's like the difference between, I believe that violence is unacceptable, but except for these things, we can use violence to fund a military or to make sure that there's roads in order to have funding for it. But then you've got anarchists who say there's no time at all where you can use violence whatsoever. So I think that's, and of course, if you're talking to a minarchist or a constitutionalist, they're going to word it differently because they don't view it as violence. Otherwise, they wouldn't be advocating for it, unless they are, in which case you should have more questions.
Thank you.
Because that's how I look at it.
Well, thank you, Phoenix, for your input. Does anybody else want to say anything about Ron's video?
I really liked that clip a lot because I identified with that struggle. I have like 3 or 4 different personalities, I think. I only show this personality to this group and this personality to this group, and it's a very, very careful walk every day. And so when I have to go out in public and interact with a lot of people, when I get home, I'm just exhausted because it's so hard, and I want to have this integrity like he's talking about. But when so many people are wanting to attack you, you kind of just out of self-preservation try to minimize yourself as a target. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to his program, and I'm glad that minarchist was defined because I thought it was MEN archist. So I thought it must have something to do with the patriarchy. Okay, that's all. Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, I think we can all identify with that a little bit with family members, friends. I have one brother who, believes what they say on TV, and another one who is, still bought into the left-right paradigm. He's a, conservative, and it's just, you just can't get through. And it's just so hard to have those conversations with some people because the minute you go beyond emotion and start throwing fact at people, it turns into them getting angry and shouting. And I've had it happen a couple of times where I'm just talking nice and calmly, and I just ask a simple question. Well, why do you think they would do this or that? And it's like, you just think you're so smart. Just shut up. That was my daughter. But yeah, I can feel that struggle. That's all I got.
That's why, at least in my case, I've taken the stance that they haven't gone in front by now. They ain't worth my time because I only have so much time, effort, like time, energy, and resources to spend. And those people aren't really that special or important, quite frankly. They don't have skill sets that are really going to be useful or helpful compared to what's already in the freedom community. So I'm not going to waste my time with them. I personally tend to disagree. Well, personally, I disagree. I think if other people want to do this, they can go right ahead. But like, of spreading it really wide, because I made that mistake in the past of looking at everyone as equal. Everyone had, my idea was everyone had equal potential, and you could never really know how someone would act in the future, because I'd seen people have dramatic like personality turnarounds after like certain events and stuff. And so I do that whole thing of, well, I treat everyone as being equal and always be forgiving and stuff. And what I've learned is don't do that. Basically, you should look at what a person is currently doing in some of their very least recent history and be like, you know what, they're probably just going to do that in the future. So in my opinion, at least for myself, I tend to take more of a stance of I would much rather work with a very tiny group of very highly dedicated people rather than try to, spread myself thin and try to rope in, or not rope in, but work with people who are sort of generally on the same page, but realistically aren't going to do much. Because those tiny groups of people who are highly dedicated have this amazing ability to cause ripple effects that those other people then pick up on and just go with. Because when the people are more just generally on the same page, you're not necessarily the ones thinking entrepreneurially or thinking of like, well, what can I build myself or do? Once something comes in and they can just follow it, they'll follow it. So I've always found you can, well, not always, but well, I guess, yeah, pretty much always now I think about it, found that those really tiny, hyper dedicated groups of people can make way more impact than spreading yourself to people who aren't at that, who aren't willing to be at that level. That being said, I do think that doesn't mean you should necessarily just cut out all the other people, but I do think there should be a bare minimum set, at least for yourself, of like, what does this person have to have before I'm going to engage with them? And for me, my bare minimum is they have to demonstrate that they're already trying to learn, they're already trying to improve themselves and whatnot. Because if they already are demonstrating that, then it doesn't matter where they're at, because they're going to improve anyways. So you can work with that person, but a person who's sort of like, if they're, I take the stance of like, I had better be able to give you like some facts or something that you can go look up on your own. And if you're going to reject that, the idea of you kind of looking into it, then that tells me that you're not worth my time. I'm not going to waste more time on that person.
I think the pragmatic approach is valuable, especially for individuals that are ready and are optimized to start doing. But like, as an eternal optimist, I think spreading the net for those that want to and have the proper rhetoric and know what they're saying and can speak to them efficaciously, and that can get through to the zombie masses. I think it's necessary still as well, because I think there, it's something that I've kind of realized with this whole like being a freaking purist when it comes to liberty and anarchy and not tolerating anything whatsoever, is that you kind of need individuals with all aspects of those approaches. You need the people that are willing to work in government. You need the people that are willing to do direct action. You need the people that are willing to put out music and speak. You need the people that are willing to teach individuals the core concepts and ideologies. You need the people that are fed up and pissed off and frustrated with the zombie masses that are like, nope, I'm not going to work with them at all. You need all of those people to move the cultural consciousness, the zeitgeist of humanity forward into this hopefully better world that we'd like to build.
Pretty much, because after all, so I was going to add, like, because after all, they attacked this from every angle, cultural, militarily, economically, etc. The same has to kind of more or less happen in reverse in order to really break through this. It can't just be one thing, so it needs everyone.
I just can't turn my back on people who are loving good people who are duped by, the perpetual childhood that the adults are in this country and around the world, that the government is kind of indoctrinating everybody with the schooling system. And it's just, I think to get better at logic, rhetoric, and grammar would be, the way you break through to some of those people that, they're good people. They're just, misguided. They haven't seen the light. I still think there's hope for some of them. Some of them, probably about 20% of those people never ever break through to. But when they're a good person at heart, through their actions, someone you've known a while, and they're just bought up in the whole thing because they're scared, because they don't, they can't differentiate propaganda and fallacies from, real speak. So I think that's where I'm kind of at.
I used to do like cop blocking, and like I didn't want to be mad and angry at them because I think that just put my life at greater risk. So I tried to go into those situations with the understanding that like these individuals have been lied to as well. They're victims of this society and this system that we live under just as much as the individual whose ass they're beating. Like they've been developed, they've been curated. They've been brainwashed to think that political power justifies physical violence and enforcing these horrible policies. So I try to forgive them as much as I can, as long as they're not willfully evil.
Whereas I don't think they've just been duped, especially at this point. I think that it's impossible for any of these people to claim they haven't had the opportunity to go and check up on these things. There's no way they could argue that, for example, they couldn't argue that they were never aware that there's been like some sort of pushback or some people who had issues with this. So they know that there's people out there who had that. They could have gone and talked to them. And the fact that they haven't done that tells me that these people were not interested in doing the right thing. They're interested in being told that they're doing the right thing. Because someone who actually wants to do, like they have a specific goal and they want to achieve that goal, what they're going to do is they're going to make sure they check all the angles to make sure the actions they're taking actually achieve the goal they want. If somebody isn't doing that and they had all the opportunity in the world to do it, and you could prove that that is the case, then what that says is they just want the majority opinion to be on their side. They just want to be told that, yeah, you good for you, you did the right thing. So I don't see them as victims, not at this stage.
Oh, that's that argument between nescience. Are they nescient or are they willfully ignorant? And even willful ignorance, is that condemnable? Is the nescience even condemnable? Is it okay?
They certainly condemn it, and they certainly do condemn it. So they're just hypocrites.
The appeal to authority fallacy is in high effect. Ad varacundium, I believe. Trying to learn it.
Yeah, that's often used, but I don't know. I think especially when it comes to the police force, depending on and with the accessibility of the internet and how much stuff they have to research in order to determine who their enemies are, like, sure, at this point they know the arguments that are given. They disagree for whatever reason. I mean, I think you'd have to go individually to determine that.
Not really, especially since in police and military, it is a formal part of training, certainly in the case of the military, that, yeah, you're supposed to be a good soldier and obey orders, except, and there's a big flashing red, exclamation mark for it, except when those orders are illegal or unethical. That is a formal part of the training. So literally these are people in those cases who are ignoring formal actual parts of what they were told to do. So no, they don't get that argument.
The idea of moral courage and of holding your higher ups accountable to the values of the esprit de corps and honor, courage, and commitment, and everything that we were taught in boot camp. There's a culture within the military, at least within the Marine Corps that I know of, that it's more symbolic. It's like, that was one of the biggest reasons that I quit, was because like my unit was supposedly the most combat ready and we had the highest marks and all this shit. And I'm looking around at these people, they're psychopaths. They're willing to steal your fucking cover and formation. Like, these weren't good people that followed these ideals. It was because this idea of moral courage, of holding to that, that idea, was pretty much just a joke. For the most part, at least I was never in combat, thankfully. So I don't know how it actually operated in a theater of battle, but stateside, it was laughable to hold to that standard where, but you could still get a page 11 if the system wanted to. They could screw you over for not holding somebody accountable, So like,
yeah, but that's the system doing it from the outside, not you doing it from the inside. which would
Sure,
have
it's a
been the thing that
diffusion of
prevented all
responsibility.
of that. And so my attitude is people shouldn't go like, some of this does come to, sorry for that. I don't know why my throat does that. Anyways, so this gets down to some of the stuff is like, people shouldn't be joining the military unless they're already soldiers on the inside. And I know there's an economic argument, especially in the States, because you can get, for example, college paid for through the GI Bill. So there's a lot of people who go through and are like, oh, it's just another job. It's like, if you're treating it like just another job, that's like the problem right there. That's going to cause many a problem. And it all comes down to people not holding themselves to that higher standard. If people did do that, none of this would have been able to happen. So that's kind of part of why I have sort of switched myself from what I used to do, which is going, well, there's all this compartmentalization of information stuff. These people didn't really have an ability to know. So they're following orders that they didn't really know what they were doing, because from their perspective, everything makes sense. And therefore, what you should target is the people in the leadership positions, because those are the people that if they were gone, from those positions, then the trickle down effect can't happen. And I've changed that to, no, these people really do, like, the problem is that the people are following the orders. The problem is that they do have those opportunities. And I was just in my own way blind to see that, or refusing to see that. So that's just sort of a bit of the background of why I shifted to, no, I'm going to hold everyone accountable from the bottom up.
And I don't disagree with you insofar as how accountability should work in regards to those individuals. Because, I do think that the order follower is far more responsible for their actions than the order giver. Hitler's only responsible for his own death, Eva von Braun's death, and maybe whoever he killed during World War I. He's not responsible for the 6 million individuals that died in the gas chambers. He's not responsible for the individuals that died on the battlefield, the individuals that pulled the triggers, that dropped the gas, that did all that. The individuals that took those actions are responsible for those actions. Otherwise, you fall into the collectivist mindset where you're blaming all of the German people, and that's just a slippery slope to hell. So I do agree with you insofar as, the individual is absolutely responsible for their actions. I just try to come at it from a position of, I know I'm better at advocating these ideals if I maintain a mindset of forgiveness and trying to be understandable and trying to do outreach to anyone and everyone. Like I got a speeding ticket in Texas a couple weeks ago, and I spent 45 minutes talking to the cop about just the state of the world and his beliefs and everything, and I thought it was pretty productive.
Well, thank you for your thoughts. Does anybody else want to chime in? All right, I will take that as we are moving on. So let's go back to share screen. All righty, here is a clip from the Grand Theft World podcast, episode 073. Let's take a look.
Smedley, Darlington, Butler. It's a good chance to check him out. His book is it's a pretty thin book, not a whole lot of.
It's very readable and straightforward.
Old and ragged. Look at that. Got those sloppy markers in there. Can't have that. Can't have that. All right. So at this point, it sounds like, we got Johnny in the room. We have a special guest tonight, Johnny Vedmore, investigative journalist, artist, musician, conscious person. And I know, Johnny, you're in Wales, right? So it's like 3:30, 3:45 your time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it's good. It's good. I'm really happy to be here. Your guys' knowledge, man, is just amazing. I love watching. It's like I love the marathon as well. Having a day where I can research and have you guys talking is just perfect. And thank God you're on the same side as me rather than on the other side, because God, man, yeah, you're doing well. So I'm so grateful that you've had me on. Thank you.
Well, I was really excited to have you on, and then I thought like it was like Friday, and I was like calculating. I'm like, wait, he's 5 hours ahead. That's only 3:30. So that's why I wanted to reach out, and make sure we didn't have to pre-tape or something. You're like, no, I'm up for it. I watch the live stream all the time. So
yeah, man.
How would you like to represent your body of work to this audience? It's really so we can give you the stage. This is like, say whatever you want, speak with complete parrhesia. I definitely want to talk about this latest, Klaus Schwab and his 3 mentors paper. I definitely want to talk about Eugen Schwab and maybe nuclear projects that were going on over in that area of the world at that time. But you have the opportunity to start wherever you want with this, unfold it. We're going to be here for a little bit. Let's hang out. I got a nice cup of tea here, and yeah.
Well, don't let my girlfriend know I'm drinking processed strawberry milk to start off. Otherwise, she'll be angry with me. I've been on an exciting journey. I've got to say, I've been on a really exciting journey. It's been I've had a bit of a crazy life. I got it's always the best way to say is I got brought up in the 17th century. My youth was a weird one because I was in what was called a 17th century reenactment society, but it's a big one, a really big one, where it's 8,000 people on a weekend go camping, all dressed up. We do battles and stuff, and 16,000 people come to watch. All the money goes to charity. You get to know people in all the regiments all around the country. You get this really safe environment of being in the campsite. So I spent my weekdays doing normal stuff in like a school, but then I spent my weekends in the 17th century and taking history in, walking around with a rapier when I was a teenager, and
yeah. So that's just a small clip from that 6-hour-long interview. I think it was amazing, personally. This is Johnny Vedmore's Twitter. As you can see, he has plenty posts from this week. So you can go check him out. And as he retweeted, this episode does not contain anything on Will Smith. So let's go back and see what you guys have to say. Stop sharing. Any thoughts on the last week's Grand Theft World episode?
That article that he wrote was amazing. I mean, it was a long, long read, but all the information in there was just so well laid out, and the connections between the people. Very impressed with his journalism.
Yeah, that was a good read. 30-minute read. And I just like how Richard told him that he wasn't hating on them. So he was like writing it without anger. So I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, you can catch the replay if you sign up for Grand Theft World. So let's move on. Let's go back to the share screen. As you can see, COVID jabs for 5 to 11-year-olds in England will start next week, with NHS officials buying toys to make vaccination centers more welcoming. That is horrible. Well, I don't want to waste all your time with his Twitter, but this guy seems like he can write pretty well intellectual articles. So
it's interesting that they're still trying to push the vaccines for kids. I mean, don't they watch Bill Gates? Didn't they understand that Omicron?
I think Omicron was the common cold, and basically it just took the place for all the hype, just to keep people scared. It's 100. How many times can something be 100 times more transmissible? The second time makes it fucking, 10,000 times more transmissible. Anyway, enough of my ranting.
All right, let's go back to the share screen. So here we have two graduates present. I would just call it an interview. This is Leadership, Ethics, and Organization, Understanding Ukraine with Terrorists. So unfortunately, I don't believe they are in this Zoom meeting, but we can catch a little clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but if you're interested, it's available.
Leveler heads prevailing, and we might see some kind of peace treaty here shortly. From my understanding, the Russians are kind of backing off a little bit, maybe at least taking a break and doing a bit of a ceasefire in a couple different of the areas. But nevertheless, let me just go ahead and let our guest introduce himself, because I probably followed up. So, Taras, tell us about yourself and your background.
Yeah, sure. So Taras is how you would pronounce my name, kind of rolly R. But I don't make people do that here. I've been living in the States now for like 30 years, I want to say. Moved here in 91 from the Soviet Union, born in Moscow. And yeah, just sort of as the split was happening was when we moved, obviously the economics were bad there, and I was a baby with health problems, and medicine was free, but you couldn't get any. So that's kind of what triggered our move. Came to Wisconsin, and now I'm a little northwest here, a little west of Minneapolis, just hanging out, working in tech.
Nice. So you have some ancestry in the Ukraine as well. It's not just being born in Moscow, but you're actually Ukrainian ancestry.
Yeah. So my name is Ukrainian, and I'm ethnically more Ukrainian than I am Russian. But I'm a mix of a bunch of different things. Less Jewish, all that.
So this interview, it seems to be about Taras' his point of view from his family living in Ukraine. So that should be a highly interesting interview to get some insights from people that are actually in that country, and not all this media garbage that they're putting out. So go check that out. I will too, matter of fact. All right, I'll put this here as a reminder to talk about the interviews that we've been doing for the several past weeks. So let's go. So how's your interviews been, guys?
I've been having some good interviews. Just probably like 4 in the last couple of weeks. Not only that, but I've been using the interviewing skills that I've gained to interview actual people for coming to work for me. So it's made that whole process a little bit easier. Just knowing how to ask the right questions and being prepared and all that stuff. So it's a great exercise, gets you used to being on camera, talking to strange people that you don't know, but not strange people, but you know what I mean, people you don't know. And it's really just a great way to learn about interesting people who have like values from all over the world. I really appreciate getting an opportunity to talk to people like Marcin over in Poland and get their perspective on things that are happening over there. I had an interview with him, I think it was last Saturday, and I messed up. We were supposed to do it this Saturday morning, but I got caught up fixing a shower and didn't have it on my calendar. So I violated my integrity. But he was telling me some things about the EU that I wasn't aware of, that were kind of, we should be glad it hasn't come to the United States for us who live here. The things he was telling me, where you can't even have a fire in your backyard because of carbon, and you can't hunt animals, and you can't own livestock unless you have like a certain permit, I guess, that only, you know, rich companies can acquire. So if you essentially are cut off from that system, like us, we could go, you know, live off the land, so to speak. But in Poland, you pretty much are at the will of the state. If they deem, you know, unvaccinated not to be worthy of eating, then you better hope you have people who can feed you. But I think that's it's one of the good things, is getting to understand, you know, from the people on the ground, what's actually going on in the world, you know, free from the propaganda that you see on TV, or the stories that you don't even see because they don't want you to know.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
I've been enjoying the interviews a lot. I had a good interview with you, and you shared some wonderful information with me, a video. I haven't finished it yet, but so far I've gotten a lot out of it. And one thing I had a question about was, I'm trying to find everybody in my class, and the list looks kind of short. And on the sidebar of Discord, is that because some of them are from other seasons, but they're active this time, and so they're not showing up there? I don't know. But the only issue I've had is I find lots of men to talk to, and I think I've talked to 7 or 8 of them, but so far I've only talked to 2 women. And
I think over on the right-hand side, it just shows people that are online at any time. They might have, like, they might be online but set to away, and it'll show those different. So really, I think everybody has to be like signed into Discord to pop up over there. Best place might be check out the waiting room, because that is where everybody has to go to in order to get the roles to open up the rest of the rooms. But you could cruise back through the waiting room and for the last 3 months and see everybody who's relatively new.
Okay, thanks. But yeah, I'm enjoying the interviews. I'm looking forward to more of them. So finally get to talk to Jeremy on Monday. So lots to look forward to.
Awesome.
I think I've only done one integration exercise interview so far this season. But I have been applying the skill outside of it. I just finished up an interview this morning with Polar the White. He's the videographer and I guess editor, and he does the videos for Diesel Automatic. He also raps on a couple of his tracks, and had a good time talking to him. I've still got to edit that once I get home. Picking up my daughter right now from ice skating. So once I get home, I can edit that and then get that posted. And just did an interview with Betsy Dewey. She's also a liberty-oriented artist, more of the country western vein. She has a couple of tracks that are really good. We Can Agree, What's in the Vaccine, and then Alex Jones Was Right. And it was a good time getting that all produced up. Just finished up an interview with Aaron and Kingsley Edwards of Float. We were discussing Float Fest. It's an upcoming Liberty event in Goss, Texas, April 29th to the 3rd, I believe it is. And just celebrating the free speech platform that Float is. So it'll be a bunch of Float users, and we've got a lot of great guests. Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Andrew Kaufman is going to be there doing a presentation. We've got Sam Tripoli is going to be there doing comedy with Eddie Bravo. So that was a good time talking to them. But I need to get a few more integration exercises back in. Been difficult trying to like split my time between doing other interviews outside of it and then being in the maintaining a presence in the autonomy community. It's kind of a pain in the butt. And then driving as well.
Anybody else? Well, I can show a little bit of what you're talking about, Phoenix. So thanks for being here so you can talk about it a little more. Let's go back to the share screen. So first of all, that new track by Diesel Automatic, what's it called? With the video?
That's social, oh, what the heck is it? Let's see real quick.
Socially selective.
Socially selective, yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah. I'll play a little bit of that.
I am not antisocial, I'm socially selective. Cause most people that I meet are emotionally defective and mentally decrepit. They lack proper perspective. Self-inflicted victimhood, I will never respect it. I am not antisocial, I'm socially selective. Cause most people that I meet are emotionally defective and mentally decrepit. They lack proper perspective. Self-inflicted victimhood, I will never respect it. I am not antisocial.
So the person that edited or made the video, he is Polar the White, and that's who Phoenix interviewed. So you know, be on the lookout for that interview. I'm sure it's a good one. And here's the website that he's talking about. So as you can see, Jason Bassler said, there will be millions of posts and thousands of memes about Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. If we put a fraction of that energy into exposing the current genocide in Yemen, instead of feeding drama and distraction, we could evolve as a species, but most aren't ready for that yet. Here's GTW Liberty Radio. And then here on the Float app, you can listen to Phoenix's interview with Betsy Dewey. As you can see, she's an amazing Liberty artist, homeschooling mother, author, and much more. And here you can also join the Telegram and share your favorite Liberty artist, and together we can make the world sound a little bit better. I actually have it right here. So as you can see, this is a group where you can listen to a ton of Liberty music. Let's play this one real quick.
Oh, now you say get the facts, so we will end up dead. A, B, C, D, E, F, you and your mask and your stupid little backs and your booster shot and your Omicron stuff, you and your jab and the fucking Wuhan lab and your vax passports and your Pfizer cohorts. Na 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 na. A B C D E F. You Dr. Fauci, I need for you to hear this. When you're in prison, it will feel like pure bliss.
All right, well, there goes the Dr. Fauci line, and there's a ton of more stuff here. So if you are finding yourself, you know, with free time, go check this group out. And here is the interview with Betsy Dewey. So Phoenix, you wanna chime in on that a little bit more?
So yeah, I hooked up with Betsy through Chris McMillan. He had sent me her track, We Can Agree, and you know, I absolutely loved it. And she was kind of difficult to get a hold of, but it took a while. I had to be kind of persistent with trying to get contact with her. It took about a month, but once I did, she was totally up for it. She also runs, she has her own podcast and Telegram group, Freedom Junkie Radio, and it was just a really good time getting to talk to her, getting to get her perspective on life, what her path was towards liberty, her musical history, some of the stuff that she's done. She wrote a book on pre and postnatal care for babies, like from a more holistic perspective. And you know, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I listened to one of her songs. She is fascinating. It's like country. It's like a country type of genre, and she just blew my mind. Um, so
yeah, she plays the guitar, the fiddle, and the violin. So I love getting to find out like what some of the paths that these artists took to decide what their favorite instrument was, and like, you know, if they have favorites, because a lot of times, you know, especially with instrumentalists, I've found that they go through they'll go through phases. Like they'll grow up on this one, it'll be one of their favorite when they were younger, and then they start to get into the guitar or the piano, and that drew them to something. And then some of them just will be like, I just wanted to master all of them. And I just love hearing those stories.
amazing, Phoenix. So now I'm just going to open up the floor to any topics that you guys want to talk about. If you guys don't want to say anything, I'll just move on. But it seems like Stephanie unmute.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to go back to the discussion about, you had shared, I don't know if it was like a tweet or an article about how the jab is going to be recommended for kids soon or required or something. And it just got me thinking more about the autonomy community versus like my in-person community. Because before I found autonomy and also a local group of awesome people that we've formed a mutual aid group with, I was trying to like engage with these issues with some local friends and moms. I went to, it was like a group of parents that organized, and it was against the mask mandate. And we've been going to school board meetings and talking to the school boards at all the various districts around. And like, I printed out like 10 different studies, and I brought it to the school board and made copies for each school board member. And we asked them, you know, we've shown you our science, like show me yours, like what is the foundation for this mask mandate, for having the kids in masks all day long at school. And they had a health department head there, and she said, oh, well, we'll be coming out with this compendium of studies soon, and you'll be able to see that on our website. We never saw anything. She never gave us any science. And, you know, the school board was just always pushing the buck on her and the health department. Like, we're just following the guidelines. We're just following the guidelines. We have to follow the guidelines. And that was all we were ever going to get out of them. And it is. And I told them at the last school board meeting, I've given up on you guys. Like, I know that you're just going to follow the guidelines. But when the vax mandate comes, you gotta like stand with us, and we're here to help you and support you. Like, there's so many parents here. We've got the science, we've got like lawyers that can help you. And they never reached out to us. And I don't think they're going to on the vax mandate thing either. So it might just end up being another instance where I'm going to have to pull my kid again. But as I said, you know, leading into my comment here, I kind of want to juxtapose that with the autonomy community, because I've been able to get so much support from friends and fellow students in this community on what to do now. Like, we're in this situation, it sucks, but what can you do? So when I first joined autonomy, I was just like in the middle of all that, like homeschooling my kid, trying to battle the mask mandates, and just received a lot of support from fellow students on what to do now and how I could turn this into something awesome. And I created a little pod or micro school at my house called Fun Schoolers. And I had like 6 or 7 different kids that were with me throughout the past 2 years, not all at the same time, but it was great. Like, there was moments of it that were great. And a lot of that came from the courage and enthusiasm that I gained from just having this community of people that, you know, supported me in the fact that I could do it, but also just gave me comfort in knowing that I wasn't the only one that felt this way. So it just kind of like made it all made it all possible, honestly. I don't know if I could have pulled it off without having the support of the community. You're muted.
I'm so sorry. Wendy, do you have anything to chime in?
Oh, am I? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had unmuted. I am very concerned about the mandate going to the young kids too. I have a granddaughter who's 3, and and her mom is very pro-vax about everything. And I don't know whether our energy is better focused on trying to educate moms or trying to stop mandates, or we should just be doing both of them. But, you know, I read all of the information about it. I sign petitions. I don't know if it does any good whatsoever, but I figure I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign it. And at least they have some kind of feedback, you know, that people don't want this. But I mean, all the evidence shows that there's negative efficacy. So they're just going to pass it because of money. And I don't know that it matters what we say, since these officials are in place because of money from drug companies. They're more listening to them than to us. So I don't know, but it's a horrible thing. And the other issue is, I think we need to possibly move the fight to repealing the 1986 law. That, you know, all this springs from that approval that they got in 1986 to not have any accountability for their products. And that's what's motivating this move to get this vax on the childhood schedule, is so it will be in the same pocket as all the rest of those vaccines on the childhood schedule, where you can't sue them, and then it's required for all these different schools and things like that. So anyway, I totally agree with Stephanie. It's terrible, and I want to do something, and I don't know what's the most effective course to take. I don't feel like I can do all of it, you know?
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to, Wendy, to what we were talking about earlier with like widening the scope of who you're going to include, because I briefly mentioned I've got a local group of like freedom-minded friends here. And it's great because some of them are just like really activated, and they're activists, and they're going and like holding signs at vax clinics, and you know, going to, you know, talk to legislators and stuff. And then there's like also some people that are more like turning inward, and this is a spiritual battle, and, you know, I'm prepared. And then there's, you know, people in the middle like myself, like I'm just kind of focusing on what I can do to prepare, like, so that my family has everything we need in case we're shut out of any services or grocery stores or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is great, because then you can just do what you can and like focus on, like, if you can go to something and you feel like it's going to make a change, sure, like try, but there are people doing that. And, you know, I kind of feel like that's not going to make a difference, because like you said, they need this to get on that list for children. Otherwise it won't be protected like the other vaccines. So it's just, I mean, I hate to be like defeatist, but I feel like it's going to happen. Like that vaccine is going to get on the list for childhood required for school. And then it's just like, what do we do with that information? You know, just preparing for that. That's what I'm doing.
I know. And that's kind of what goes back to that other conversation about, you know, living in your integrity. And I'm in a neighborhood, a subdivision of 14 houses, and I have all this stuff in my head that I want to tell my neighbors, and I don't, because what I know about them, I don't think it would be helpful. And one time when I mentioned, when I was trying to draw everybody together in 2020 and kind of explore the idea of working together to protect ourselves, I said, because it's a possibility we could at one point have the National Guard or something at our doors, with vaccines. And I got shouted down right away. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but in the return email to everyone that this is not the place where we talk about vaccines.
Oh my gosh, I had the same almost experience with, so my husband and I decided to coach soccer for my son last fall and spring, I think it was, sorry. Anyway, it was required that they wear masks at practice, but not when they're playing a game, but it was just ridiculous. So I printed out some like World Health Organization stuff that said that, kids shouldn't wear them when they're exercising and some other stuff. And I forwarded that in an email to all the parents of the kids on the team. And I was like, this is going to be our approach as coaches, is we are not going to be requiring them to wear masks at practice. And I wanted to, kind of get feedback from them. Like, what do you guys want to do at a game? Are you going to want to say if they're going to require them to wear it on the sidelines and require everybody to wear it unless they're actively playing? Like, do you guys want to just go with that? Or do you want to we have options was my point. We could forfeit the game and go play ourselves or find other people. And they were like, this is not a child's sport, is not the time or place. So it's like, what's the time or place? This is our kids. This is the most important time and place to be speaking up about this. So yeah, it's like there is no time or place.
Yeah. So I've shut up. I haven't said anything else since that time. And nobody rushed in to defend me or say, no, we should talk about this or anything. So I just kind of wrote off the whole neighborhood. And
so you have the email addresses of your neighbors?
I'm actually the HOA president. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, have you tried another way of connecting with local people, like going on Freedom Cells?
I started a Freedom Cell, but I didn't go public with it. And just this past week, I invited my one next door neighbor who she and I are pretty much on the same page. I invited her and another lady that I know to meet at a coffee shop and talk about networking for food and all these different things. So we talked for 2 hours, and we're going to meet every week and do some projects like fermenting food ferments and things like that. And it will be my Freedom Cell without trying to do it online. My next door neighbor does not want her name online at all. So even though she's completely in line with doing the Freedom Cell, she doesn't want to be on the Freedom Cell. So
yeah, we have some people like that in my local group too that are really private, and people in autonomy too, they never turn on their camera and don't use their full name and whatnot. And that's cool. But I think it would maybe be beneficial to create, because what worked for my local community is when I went on Freedom Cells and I found somebody on the map, I emailed them and they were like, we have a Discord group, and there was 100 people in there.
Oh, there's nobody near me.
Oh, there isn't?
Mm-mm.
Oh man.
The closest group is an hour away.
What state do you live
in? I'm out in a rural area of Southeast Kansas. So
that just means that it's your responsibility to make it.
Yes.
You got to create it. If it's not
I'm working on it. I went and met with the lady who owns a health food store in our town. I met with her. I gave her my food co-op book, and I went to the Rogue Food Conference last year in Tennessee. So I got John Moody's book, which I can't remember the name of, and I got Nitsi Bali's book, and I gave those to her. But I've been supporting her all along and talking to her about ideas for improving her business, trying to get more customers and different angles, marketing angles. Not that I'm any person that knows marketing, but just as a customer, you know, I had some ideas, and her husband owns a nursery in town. So those two people are also in my little network. And then I went to an Amish auction of plants and flowers yesterday, way off. Well, it's like 30 minutes from my house, but I had to drive 4 miles off down a gravel road to get there. No signal for the phone or anything. And they have, the auctioneer actually has a little store in our town. So I'm going to work with him too, because he's got a lot of connections. So I've got ideas and I'm working on a group, but it's just going to be slow.
Good job. Sounds like you've been putting in some work for that.
Yeah, it was a lot for all in 1 week, but wow. Yeah, I've been thinking about
the group Bonds for the Win?
Yes, I've heard about Bonds for the Win. It works better in some states than others, or some regions than others. I think it depends how much their bond is, but there's some gals who at our most recent school board meeting put them on notice. I'm not sure how it works, but put them on notice that if they didn't comply with some demands, then they would go after their bond. So yeah, I think that's been effective in a lot of areas for getting mandates taken away. But in terms of building community, Wendy, have you heard of the White Rose Society and their stickers?
Are you talking about through Patrick Wood and the Citizens for Free Speech?
I've seen him talking about the White Rose Society, but I'm not sure if it's the same, like these people.
No, I think the White Rose is just the symbol that they've taken up for Citizens for Free Speech. I joined Citizens for Free Speech, but I haven't been participating lately. It just got to be too much, you know. I'm trying to organize all these little different groups all over the place. You know, I go to church an hour from here, so I'm trying to get my little church group going. And we've already bought a house in Mountain View, Arkansas, so where we're going to retire. And so trying to work within that little group. And I'm actually working with my former pastor to try to connect all the Latin Mass chapels for the CMRI, and kind of like a freedom cell thing, but within those chapels. And that way, get them supporting each other.
Wendy, how far is Mountain View from Hot Springs? Because I've got a friend that I met at Float Fest last year. He's like he's a rock hound. He goes into all the mountains gathering the geodes and the types of gems and stuff. And he's in like I think he's in or around Hot Springs.
Okay, well, Hot Springs is in the southwest of Arkansas, I think. Is that right? I believe that's right. And we're closer to Missouri. Yeah, we're closer to Missouri.
Okay. I know several individuals are in that area. I'll send you some contact info.
Yeah, great. Mountain View is the folk music capital of the world. So there's like 4 different festivals during the year, not necessarily all music festivals, but at every festival, all the music people come. And they all, I mean, there's music on the courthouse lawn, and people dance in the streets. And then there's a park right behind the courthouse called the Pickin Park. And it's like 3 different gazebos where people just spontaneously gather and sing and play together. And they'll get up and move to different gazebos and play with another group of people. But it's a really neat atmosphere. I like it a lot. They have a motorcycle festival in August if you want to come for that.
So at these events, the reason and different public venues and stuff, the reason I bring up the White Rose Society is they have, if you go to jointhewhiterose.com, you could print out these stickers.
Okay.
And you could put like a QR code on it for your local thing. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you've got a lot of connections with people in the area. Like, I don't know how to do a QR code, but like, you know, and then if people see it like on a post, you know, or whatever, and then they're like, oh, I want to find who those people are in my neighborhood.
That reminds me. I didn't think about doing that, but I ordered 25 copies of Freedom's
Real
Phoenix, the
Freedom's
newspaper.
Phoenix newspaper. Awesome.
So I've been handing those out too. So
wow, you are busy. You're spreading the truth.
Oh, well, I mean, I just thought that would work. I mean, it's something physical to put in their hands, and it has so many good links in it, and it's got autonomy in it, and Corbett Report, and all this great stuff. So I thought, well, I'll try that and see how that goes, and kind of helped bring up to speed the people that I'm talking with, so that we can get more done and understand each other better. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Get them thinking first, at least.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll shut up.
I mean, you can keep on going. There's no rush at all. I mean, unless you guys are getting tired or, think that we should end this podcast soon. What's
Well, I was gonna say I really like that idea that Stephanie has about printing out the little stickers, because I saw that somewhere else too. I'm in a Telegram, Ramiro Romani's Telegram group, and he posted that at one time. It was another group, but he shared it on his feed, and it was all about printing out the little stickers. And I thought I need to do that, but it was one of those things that I didn't write down, and so I didn't make the move on it. But yes, I totally agree. Those little things are helpful. So, and I'll look into the White Rose. What was it? The whole thing again?
Yeah, I think you just go to jointhewhiterose.com.
Okay.
And then once you're at their jointhewhiterose.com website, it takes you to their Telegram, and there's instructions.
Okay, so you think this is the same thing that Romero had? I bet it is. Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
So Jerry, when are you coming to the States?
It's a good question, Wendy. Hopefully soon.
Are they still investigating you or whatever?
Yeah, I got to give them a call this coming week to see what's the status is, Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that military members are getting an honorable discharge for not receiving the vax. So that's something I wish I knew.
Bitch.
Yes.
I wish I would have stayed in. I could have just gotten an honorable instead of other for quitting.
Yeah.
I forgot, what part of the military are you in? I forgot.
I'm in the Navy. Phoenix was a Marine, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if Ethan was prior military. He's no longer in here.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, hopefully soon, Wendy.
Well, keep us posted.
For sure. If I could attend Pork Fest, that would be great.
That's what I need to talk about. I have a family thing on the 23rd of June, right in the middle of Pork Fest. And I really want to go, but I don't see how that could work out.
Is it just for the one day?
Yeah, but it's in Texas, and
there'll be a lot of traveling that week. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something else that everybody goes to, or is Pork Fest the main thing?
There's a lot of Liberty events, and you can see calendars of them in various spots. But one place I've seen a calendar of Liberty events is the 5 Meme Friday newsletter from artofliberty.org.
Oh, let me see.
And I think Phoenix knows about some Liberty events.
Yeah, there's several. There is, let's see, in early February, you've got the Liberty Forum in New Hampshire. That's I think that kind of kicks off the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Float Fest in Goss, Texas. April, I know there's the Red Pill Expo. I think that's in September. There is Anarchon. Red Pill, I think it changes, it rotates, it migrates. Last year it was in New Orleans. I'm not sure where it's going to be this year. But then you've got Anarchon in Virginia area. That one's run by Cal Molyneux, I believe. And then you've got the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest. That goes off in late May, early June. That's up in Michigan in the Detroit area. You've got Vinyl Fest in Central Illinois.
What was the one in Michigan?
The Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival. That one's a lot of fun. I think I've been there 3 times. Really good people over there. Really good.
Okay. What part of Texas is the Float Fest?
Float Fest is in Goss. It's right in the middle of the triangle between Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas.
Austin. Oh, Dallas. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe an hour outside of Austin. I know it's 2 hours from Marble Falls, or like an hour and 40 minutes from Marble Falls.
Okay. All right. So how many of you are going to Pork Fest?
I'm definitely trying to go to Pork Fest.
Yeah, darn.
Yeah, I'll be there too.
Maybe, are you going to be there the whole week?
I have a campsite and a ticket for the whole week. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. Well, maybe something will work out for me to go.
Yeah.
But
I think most of the stuff happens at the end of the week and the weekend. So if after the 23rd, you could go and catch the bulk of it.
Yeah, might do that. Okay.
Wait,
well, I enjoyed it, y'all.
What state are you in again?
I'm in Kansas. I get confused because we had bought the house in Arkansas, so they're got so much of the same letters, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm looking at that Liberty event calendar right now. There's Tahlequah, Oklahoma in April.
Tahlequah. Mm-hmm.
Tahlequah, Oklahoma. There's one in April, and then Cambridge, Mass.
Yeah, the Tahlequah one is, I think that's Midfest.
Okay, yeah.
Oh.
Las Vegas, Colorado, Arizona, Michigan, Virginia, New Hampshire. Those are the ones.
Wow. Okay, well, if there's one that more people, that a lot of autonomy people go to other than Pork Fest, I'd really like to know that. But just because I like to meet all these people in real life.
Right, yeah. Well, the Exit and Build Summit's coming up. I know Joshua's going to that.
Oh, he is? Oh. I didn't buy a ticket for that, but I did that Exit and Build online last fall. So I thought, I don't know if it's worthwhile for me to buy a ticket to go in person, you know, when I've already listened to all that. But
yeah,
maybe
you just meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then I went to that Rogue Food thing. So Joel Salatin was there last year, and some other neat people. But yeah, I might still go to it. It's closer. I mean, I could easily drive there. So, okay. Well, I enjoyed the visit, y'all. Looking forward to watching last night's recording.
It was a good one.
Yeah. One question I have is on integration exercises, like all those videos that we watched of the underground history. I kept looking for something I was supposed to do other than watch the video. Is that the integration exercise, watching the videos? Because I didn't see anything else to do.
Yeah, it's just whatever you're going to do with the information in your life, since everybody's situation is a little different. And then,
okay.
You know, potentially bringing that into the other integration exercise of interviews, you know, discussing that content. That's my understanding, at least.
Okay, good. I'm the person that has dreams that I didn't do the work for the project or whatever. So I'm like, oh, I think I've done all this and I'm prepared. And it turns out there was really this whole page of exercises that I was supposed to do and I'm not ready. So I'm not sure what mindset that is, but I'm sure it's a bad one. Richard should add it to the list.
Yeah, I think that might be more of like a slave mentality. This is all free. It's all about freedom, Wendy. Do what you want with the info.
Yeah.
The curriculum, and you're gonna.
Pardon? What did you say? I'm sorry. Well, did he get frozen? What did Phoenix say? Oh.
No, I don't think that was me. I think that was a video of Rich talking.
Oh.
That was queued up.
Oh yeah, that was me. Because I was trying to look up Charlotte
Iserby.
Because she kind of reminded me of your story, how people are just not believing you about the vaccine, and then she talked about how people around her were making her feel bad, and I kind of connected those, your story together. So
I really like listening to her. I was sad that she passed away. That would have been neat if we could have met her. I remember watching her videos a long time ago, whenever I was watching Anthony Sutton videos, and whenever that was, I guess about the same time that I had read Underground History. So, but I didn't remember her being so engaging as she was to me this time. Maybe it's my age. But she was a really neat lady.
definitely. Open topic. So this is your time to say anything.
Okay. Well, I want to know if anybody has worked with someone not in their family on developing conversational skills. I know that the nonviolent communication has been a topic that has been explored by Richard, and I know a family that needs that desperately, but I don't know how I could approach them about it without, causing a problem. I feel confident that there's a way to do it. Just be patient and pick the right time and place and have the right material. I looked into the book, How to Talk So Your Kids Will Listen and Listen So Your Kids Will Talk. And I think it's the same kind of thing as the nonviolent communication. I mean, you're listening to them and acknowledging what they say instead of telling them, oh no, that's not the way it is, or you don't feel that way, or whatever. So I thought a book might be a very easy way to introduce that. I've watched some of the, I can't remember that guy's name now. Marshall, the nonviolent.
Marshall McClellan? Oh.
No, not McClellan.
The one that talks about
Marshall,
the giraffes.
Yeah, they have the giraffe guy. Yeah, I've listened to several of his videos, but I just don't feel like that's an easy approach. Why don't you watch these videos where giving a book is more like a gift and more, I don't know, more peaceful, more open. I don't know. But
do these people engage in conversation with you readily? Like if you just were open-ended questions and
yes, they go to my church, and it's just like wonderful family, very generous, but somehow I think it's passed down through the family, this poor communication skills, very negative, not to everybody, but like within the family, but it does kind of bleed over sometimes. But
I think the best way to do outreach when it comes to individuals is just by knowing your audience and knowing exactly who you're talking to. So try and target something, because there's a lot of Christian anarchist literature out there. There's a fair amount of individuals, because there's a lot of people that argue that, you know, Jesus was the first anarchist. By rejecting the authority that was man, he embraced the authority of God, and so forth. And so there's a lot of writing out there that will bring the concepts of liberty and you know, the history to that audience. So it's all about, yeah, just targeting your audience.
Yeah. Well, they're very liberty minded. I mean, our chapel, we have not had any masks. We've not closed down for any reason. We stay and visit after mass for a couple hours every Sunday. You know, it's just this one little issue that keeps coming up, you know, mostly when the ladies are sitting around talking about the kids. And I hear how they talk to the kids, and they're, you know, they have teenagers and they're struggling with the teenagers being rebellious. And I'm like, I hear how you're talking to them, and I'm not saying that to them, but you know.
But they do recognize that there's a problem. They just might not realize what the problem is, like what's causing it.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not an expert on this, and I don't really know, but I've heard people recommend the Socratic method a lot, just asking questions, and that could maybe help them come to their own realizations of what they need.
Well, I got my little one here. She's pretty articulate.
Hello.
What do you think are some ways that are effective methods of outreach to talk to you and your generation? You're 13 now. What do you think would get through to people your age and in your demographic?
Teenager in the house. What?
I don't know, just like you could try and relate whatever you're trying to talk about to something that they might know of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like maybe
like
use a
like
metaphor.
An example. Yeah, like a metaphor or an example. Something like that.
Well, I think there's been so many years of bad communication that the children are completely shut down. The teenagers are completely shut down, and they don't listen at all. And I totally empathize with them. I mean, I would not respond well to that kind of talk either, you know. And so I
spend more time.
The parents who need correction or help, you know, education. They need education.
Yeah,
they just never learned.
When they were little, I was still in the Marine Corps. Like, and when I gotten out of boot camp, I was very much instant obedience to orders. I expect you guys to do what you're told when you're told to do it. And throughout that, my whole like journey through it, I think I've been fairly inconsistent, wouldn't you say, as far as like how I expect you guys to behave and what I expect from you?
No, you grew and adapted, not inconsistent. Sure. Parenting is all, you know, you do what you can as you learn it. And I know, you know, I had a different situation parenting than my parents had, and plus I was far from any family, so I didn't have any input, you know, when previously in generations of my family, they had extended family all around who helped, you know, who had learned all the ways to parent and could pass that on, who knew how to take care of mothers after they had just given birth, you know, and support them and encourage them. I was by myself, you know. It was really harrowing because I was trying to be the perfect mom, you know. Terrible.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. I was trying to live up to something that I couldn't even conceive of, but like never let him cry. Yeah, I got over that. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, sometimes not giving them what they want is the best option.
Yeah. Well, I did the whole route with trying to keep him from crying and nurse him all night long and in my bed and big soft heart, but I finally realized that wasn't working and put him in his own room, and he learned and we moved forward. But that's all I'm saying is that it's a whole process. Parenting is hard, and we're doing it differently than has ever been done before. And so it's kind of hard to be consistent when you don't know what you're doing and what works to begin with.
Yeah. What's her name? Not Donna. Dang it, I can't remember. She's an activist down in Miami. She wrote a book called Radical Unschooling. I can't remember her name. She was on like an episode of Wife Swap and all this stuff. But she advocates for really just letting your kids do pretty much whatever they want and direct self-directed life more so over just self-directed learning. And like she was at one of the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest, I think the first time I went, and I was going through a lot of stuff, like thinking that I was failing them and being like just too harsh and just like had completely tainted the well. And she gave me a lot of perspective when it came to child rearing, especially from a perspective where you want to be like unschooling and giving them more autonomy in their lives. And it was that, all the fear that I have, most of it was just fake and not really real and put upon by myself and outward society. And just have faith that, if you just go forward with love with them, that they will get that. And I don't know, what do you think? Has that kind of transmitted in our interactions and the way that I've tried to raise you? Do you think that was effective?
No pressure.
A little bit.
Hey, I appreciate the honesty. I want the honesty. I can't approve.
Do better.
Do better.
Do better.
But yeah, so Radical Unschooling. I can't remember her name, but that's a pretty good resource. It really gave me a lot of perspective when it came to how to interact with kids.
I had an unschooling book, but I can't remember the author of it. So we basically did kind of a regular school in the fall, and then after Christmas we were unschooling. And that was never my plan, but that's what happened every year. So I didn't worry about it. They came out okay. And we had all kinds of animals and all that kind of stuff. So I figured, hey, they're learning stuff all the time. So
speaking about the difficulties of parenting, my youngest is encouraging me to jump off here because she wants Dunkin' Donuts. So I'm gonna go get her some horrible food and get her some poison.
I haven't had donuts in a while.
Okay.
She ate it for like 2 hours today, so I guess she deserved it.
I have a
donut. Well, I'll try and jump back on if you guys are still in in the next few minutes, probably like 15 minutes, but yeah.
That's a quick donut.
Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye, Phoenix. What was his daughter's name?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, well, maybe he didn't want to share it on a semi-public podcast.
Oh.
I just realized that.
Yeah.
I think he was talking about Dana Martin.
Yeah, I think he was talking about Dana Martin, the unschooling book.
Yeah. I didn't catch the daughter's name either.
So, but back to the teenagers at the church. It's at the church, right? How well do you know the kids? Because maybe if the parents are beyond help, maybe you could just be a trusted adult. They could.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I've been thinking about that too. And thinking, could I help somehow? Or am I getting over involved trying to save the world?
You might be. You seem like a helper type.
Yeah. So
it's heartbreaking though, because you could see their potential and they're just getting beaten down, but yeah.
And like I said, the mom and the grandma, they're my friends. I like them. They're very generous. They do all kinds of things for me and for the church. But it's just, I think the grandma learned poor communication skills, and that's just spread through her family, and I don't know, it's just an awkward situation, but I'm going to keep working. I'm not giving up. I think that I can talk to them about it. I'm just going to wait until I found my perfect little place to fit it in. Because Yeah, but so nobody knows about that book, How to Talk to Your Kids, so your kids will listen. I never read it. I just was familiar with it from back in the old days when I was homeschooling, and it's still around. I found it on Amazon. But
I don't know. I might have seen an ad for it on Facebook. It does sound familiar.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to get off. I've still got some plants to get set out in my garden.
Me too. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Strawberries and kale.
Yeah, I got my broccoli and cabbage and tomatoes and celery in the ground, but I've still got some basil and something else.
These have been sitting here waiting for me for like 2 weeks.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, have you planted any sweet potatoes? I was watching videos.
I don't think they grow well here. I'm in Washington State.
Oh yeah, they like warm, hot weather.
But potatoes are my favorite food, so I ordered a bunch of seed potatoes from Average Eyes. And I did plant some strawberries.
Uh-huh. Good job.
Yeah.
Mine are on their third season, so I think they're probably not going to do much this year, but I'm going to research and see if there's something I can feed them to get some more out of this one last season. But I was watching videos on sweet potatoes, and you can start them several different ways. Some people, put them in a jar of water to sprout them and get the slips. Then you plant the slips. But then I watched this other guy, and he said he just throws them in the ground, or throws them on the ground and covers them up with soil, and then they sprout from there. And then you take the slips off and plant the slips. So I think I'm going to try that. I want to just cover them up with dirt. I don't want to do all the toothpick in the jar thing. That looks like a pain.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, keep me posted. I wish I could grow sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I love sweet potatoes. Yum.
Sweet potatoes do that. Some other root vegetables do, where you can just cut off chunks. Ginger is another one that'll grow back from a root. Like even if you just buy one from the store, garlic will start sprouting as well. They'll kind of like do that. The strawberries, though, if you get like the strawberries, I used strawberries as a ground cover, and then after like a year or two, it spread and covered like the whole bottom of where we grew annuals. So like we had the tall things and tomatoes going up above, and then strawberries like all on the mounds where those were growing, like in rows. And there were the swells running alongside that to collect the water and kind of like let it drain into the area. So strawberries are really cool because they come back, but I don't know if it's too cold in you guys' area because I'm down in the south.
My strawberries I can't remember, I think it was 2 years ago, we had a cold spell. It was -14 here for several days, and I had not even covered those strawberries. I didn't put leaves, I didn't put hay, I didn't put plastic, nothing, and they were just fine. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So I don't know.
Yeah, they normally survive and come back here. So like they'll come back from the roots, under the ground.
Where are you located?
North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, I enjoyed it, y'all. Thanks. Talk to you later.
I had one other thing to add for you, that the Porcupine Freedom Fest, I think that it gets a little bit extended past those 2 weeks, and like people stay on the site, so there's like an after thing where there aren't as many people, but there are still people there and on the property. And there's something else that people went to after Porcupine last year called Jackalope Freedom Festival, but I think it's somewhere on the other side, the west coast of the country.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I think I'll just go ahead and buy a ticket if there's any available and see what happens. Try to work something out. So I appreciate it.
I managed to make it last year. Hopefully I'll get back this year. We'll see.
Yeah, I do too. Good to talk to you. Good to talk to all of y'all. Bye.
Bye, Wendy. Nice chatting.
Bye.
Bye, Wendy. So, Stephanie, are you leaving too?
Yeah, I gotta go get outside before the sun goes down. It's almost 2:30.
All right. Well, are you going to be in the next Q&A?
Oh yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
All righty. You have a nice rest of your weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
See you later. You all have a great day.
See you, Rob.
Time. Say goodbye. Take care.
All righty, guys. Think this is a good time to end the podcast. So that is it for this week's episode of Do It Live Autonomy Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you all for joining me today. Join us again next week, but first, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you wanted to know how you can get autonomy, go to getautonomy.info. Tell them Jerry sent you.